Sir, they're locked on our signal.
They're launching again.
Bravo 6 maneuver fire full.
What if Captain Kirk could finally meet his father, the man who died saving him at birth? That was the bold idea behind the canceled sequel to Star Trek Beyond, a movie that promised to tie the entire Kelvin timeline together by bringing back Chris Hemsworth and having him team up with Chris Pine. But instead of becoming a fan favorite Star Trek movie, it crashed into development hell and was never made. Welcome back to What If Cinema. I'm Gabby Ortiz, and today we're exploring the untold story of the Star Trek Beyond sequel.
But I'm feeling generous today, so have at it.
Sometimes simply called Star Trek. In this video, we'll break down the emotional plot that would have reunited James Kirk and his father, George Kirk, even showing you what it may have looked like if made. The returning cast, including Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, and even Chris Hemsworth. The behind-the-scenes drama over salaries that blew the project apart. And finally, why Paramount abandoned the film altogether in favor of shifting Star Trek back to television.
Lock onto it, Mr. Kelso.
What was the story of the unmade Star Trek 4? The unmade sequel was meant to follow the events of Star Trek Beyond, with newly refitted USS Enterprise back in service. But this wasn't just another mission of the week adventure. Instead, it was designed to bring the Kelvin timeline full circle by returning to the very first scene of J.J. Abrams' 2009 reboot. The film opened with George Kirk sacrificing himself aboard the USS Kelvin while his wife gave birth to James, Chris Pine's character, in an escape pod. The new movie would have reopened that wound, introducing a temporal anomaly that allowed Kirk to meet his father as a living, breathing man. Writers J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay pitched it as, what if you could meet your dad, but he was your age? It wasn't just a sci-fi gimmick. The story would force Kirk to confront his unresolved issues and the shadow of his legacy, one of the ultimate sacrifices. By the end of the film, he discovered that leadership isn't about rewriting the past, but about living up to the responsibility of the present. The film's climax was rumored to put Kirk in an impossible choice: save his father and risk destabilizing the timeline, or let George sacrifice himself again to preserve the future. Just like the 2009 film began with George dying for James, this story would have ended with James finally understanding what the sacrifice meant. If Star Trek 4 was made, who would have appeared? The entire USS Enterprise crew. Chris Pine as James T. Kirk. Pine admitted to Variety, "I don't want to sound like I'm asking for tons of money, but I do feel I deserve to get paid what I'm worth." He was interested if the pay was right. Chris Hemsworth as George Kirk. Years after his brief but very iconic role in the 2009 Star Trek film, Hemsworth later admitted, "I didn't feel like we landed on a reason to revisit George. I didn't just want to do it for the sake of doing it." Of course, since then, he's gone on to become one of Marvel's biggest stars, a long way from that early role in Star Trek. Zachary Quinto as Spock still balancing his Vulcan and human side. Zoe Saldana as Uhura with an expanded arc. Saldana, like Hemsworth, was seen as a major asset due to the popularity of Guardians of the Galaxy. Carl Urban as McCoy, who said he was excited about the script if it gave him depth. Simon Pegg and John Cho returning as Scotty and Sulu. Tragically, Anton Yelchin, who played Chekhov, passed away just before Beyond was released. Producers confirmed they would not recast him, leaving Chekhov absent from the sequel. Why did Star Trek 4 end up in development hell? It's all about the money. The father-son storyline was the hook Paramount used to sell the movie. The tagline fans whispered was Kirk meets Kirk. Payne and McKay even call it an Avengers-level idea in terms of scope. But here's where everything started to fall apart. The contracts. Paramount expected Pine and Hemsworth to take pay cuts compared to Star Trek Beyond. But Pine pushed back, telling the studio he already had a pay-or-play contract in place and wasn't going to renegotiate. Meanwhile, Hemsworth's agents argue that after Thor, Ragnarok, and Avengers Infinity War, he deserved top billing, not a downgrade. Both actors walked, and without them, the story was dead in the water. Beyond the salary disputes, there were other reasons why the film was killed as well. The box office disappointment of Star Trek Beyond, making $343 million worldwide on a $190 million budget, made Paramount cautious about greenlighting another big-budget sequel. The CBS-Paramount merger shifted priorities to streaming, with shows like Discovery, Picard, and Strange New Worlds taking the spotlight. By 2020, the project was officially shelved. And though Star Trek 4 rumors still pop up from time to time, the Kelvin Timeline father-son reunion seems destined to remain in development hell. After Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth pulled out of Star Trek IV, things took an interesting twist. S.J. Clarkson, known for Jessica Jones, was briefly attached, making her the first woman to direct a Star Trek film. However, around the same time, Quentin Tarantino pitched an R-rated Star Trek idea, which pulled the studio's attention in a completely different direction.
Fire
is to kill. Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek.
By this point, the original script had been sidelined. The constant rotations of directors and competing projects left fans confused. Was Tarantino making the next Star Trek? Was it Holly? Or were Pine and Hemsworth going back and forth after all? The answer ultimately was none of the above. So that's the story of the Star Trek Beyond sequel that could have reunited Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth, tied the entire reboot trilogy back to its beginning, and giving Captain Kirk the father he never knew. Instead, it fell apart in a storm of contracts, clashing visions, and studio politics. But what do you think? Should Paramount have paid Pine and Hemsworth what they asked for? Or was the story doomed from the very start? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another dive into the unmade movies of your favorite franchises.